Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, George. Thank you, Larry, and so many others in IU and CWA who have done so much to bring our movements together. It is really an honor to be here today. And when I was thinking about the presentation and the work that we're doing to build movements, to build coalitions, to create change, I thought about a quote from John Muir, who founded the Sierra Club. He said, "When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe." And that was true back in 1892 when the Sierra Club was founded. And I think it's certainly true today as we've been watching the horror of the spill in the Gulf of Mexico, which was caused by reckless companies that ignored safety requirements, killing 11 people and creating an unprecedented human, environmental, and economic disaster. Because if we work in silos and we have a labor agenda or we have an environmental agenda, it will not only be easier to defeat us individually, but it also becomes easier to play us up against each other and we all lose. That is certainly the strategy of our opponents, and that's why the partnerships that we've created, like the BlueGreen Alliance, are so crucial. BGA unites two of the largest environmental groups in the country, the Sierra Club and the Natural Resources Defense Council, with 8 unions that cross the entire gamut of the American economy: the communication workers, the steel workers, the American Federation of Teachers, the laborers, the service employees, the Amalgamated Transit Union, the utility workers, and the sheet metal workers. It unites 8.5 million people across the country. I want to tell you a little bit about the Sierra Club. We are the oldest, founded in 1892, and largest grassroots environmental organization. We have 1.3 million members and supporters, and that means that pretty much everywhere you go in this country, you'll find Sierra Club activists and volunteers. And we might be best known for creating national parks and protecting wilderness, taking folks out on hikes, typical tree hugger things, but we are also the environmental groups that have worked on economic and worker rights issues the longest. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the work that we have been doing together. We fought together in the streets of Seattle, we fought CAFTA and NAFTA, and we fought together side by side against bad trade deals that export our jobs and our pollution to countries with few, if any, standards. We worked for decades on clean air and clean water issues together. And we have worked together in dozens of places around the country to fight for worker protections and safety, because as the BP oil spill has so tragically shown us, it is the workers that's on the front line of defense against accidents, chemical spills, and hazardous pollution. Last year, passing the Employee Free Choice Act was one of the Sierra Club's top legislative priorities. We had 11 full-time Sierra Club people working to pass EFCA. We reached about 200,000 environmentalists in targeted states. We generated thousands of calls and letters. We organized lobby days here in Washington as well as back home. Our building, which is up on Capitol Hill, just a few blocks from the Senate office buildings, was literally draped in a massive EFCA banner for months, which was provided courtesy by CWA, so we're happy about that. And most recently, we worked together to pass a comprehensive climate bill. And you should be proud of the fact that CWA and IUE were among the most active unions to pass this bill. You got more than 9,200 of your members to contact their representatives in favor of a climate bill. And you had several of your folks up here in DC putting a real human face on why we need global warming solutions. Because green jobs, the green economy, is pretty foreign to most people. But what we have done together and what we have done through the BlueGreen Alliance is to show that this green economy looks a lot like our current economy, just runs on clean energy, and that the jobs that are needed are jobs like electricians and steel workers and machinists and carpenters and construction workers and, yes, indeed, communication workers. And I want to highlight the work that IUE has done and shown the way by embracing the opportunities of a green economy. You make the energy-efficient appliances the hybrid car batteries, hybrid buses, new diesel engines, solar and windmill components, and your manufacturing certification and green job training programs are propelling graduates into these new jobs. And I want to recognize some of you who came to Washington to lobby for a climate bill. Some of you didn't even come once, you came twice to tell this story. If you're in the room, I know some of you are, I want you to wave or stand up, please. From Indiana, Bob Hardy. From Missouri, Marvel Mason and Gerald Nicholson. And from Ohio, quite a crew, Sean Grimes, James Winship, Wayne Cook, and Bill Draves. I want to thank you. We know everybody's busy. Everybody has lives. We have work. We have things we have to do. And so to be able to come here and tell this story over and over saying we need these jobs, we need them now, it's incredibly important. And one of my favorite moments of 2009 was when I was up on the Hill and I ran into a lobbyist from the Boilermakers Union in the halls of the Hart Senate office building. And I was up there with my president of the Sierra Club lobbying for EFCA, while he was on his way to his next lobby meeting on the climate bill. Talk about stepping out of our silos. It was a really great moment. And just a few weeks back, CWA, and George gave a very eloquent presentation, joined the Sierra Club in calling for an end to our dependence on oil in 20 years. But, as we all know too well, despite all of our hard work in fighting for worker rights and fighting for the environment, we haven't seen the kind of legislative change that we're hoping for back in 2008. There is no path for passing EFCA or any significant labor law reform. And on the climate front, Majority Leader Reid decided to abandon the push for a comprehensive climate bill this week, and instead he introduced two narrower bills that focus on cleaning up and regulating the oil and gas industries and support communities in the Gulf, as well as Homestar, which reward homeowners for purchasing energy-saving fittings for their homes. And while we're supportive of these smaller bills from Senator Reid, and they will create tens of thousands of badly needed jobs, these bills are only a very small down payment to reduce America's oil dependence and to move us towards a clean energy economy. And in the wake of the BP disaster, now should have been the time for Congress to take bold and swift action. But instead, as you all know, we are left in a system where Republicans are proud to block action on any issue and when there's no real path forward for success. And that's where we're joining forces with CWA and others in taking on the outdated Senate rules and the filibuster. At the end of the day, though, I think we probably all agree there's not that much change that really starts here in Washington, much as some people like to think it does. That real change starts at home. It starts in our communities, where we work together around a shared vision, a shared agenda. And that's, to me, what's exciting about the work that we're going to be doing together to connect Sierra and CWA members on the ground to promote broadband expansion. Like your Stewards Army, we also have tens of thousands of volunteers who are working in their communities. More than 70,000 Sierra Club members volunteer 10 hours a week or more. I want to see a show of hands. How many of you all already work or know the Sierra Club people in your state or in the town where you're from? Raise your hands. All right. So I think we still have a little ways to go here. We have some of our work cut out for us. Because I think an important part of the work that we're going to be doing is to strengthen the local connections. Because how do we build a movement? How do we build coalitions? How do we help each other in our fights if we don't even know each other's names and faces? So I want to work with each and every one of you to connect you with your environmental counterpart on the ground in your community. You might be invited to one of our hikes, and I hope you say yes, and you should feel free to invite us to a Labor Day parade or a picket line or anything else that you think is appropriate. And I think the task in front of us is to make sure that the next time we get together, every single one of you will raise your hand and say, yes, I know the Sierra Club person in my community. I know her name. We work together. We have a connection. The Sierra Club has joined with CWA to promote broadband expansion. And the focus is on creating sustainable communities where we want to weave together a narrative that shows us how, by investing in broadband, we can keep communities thriving, we can create jobs, and we can protect the environment. Because sustainability is more than just reducing emissions. It's also about making sure that the economic benefits are shared by the many rather than the few. It's about making sure there are jobs in rural and urban America, good jobs that allow workers to support their families. A sustainable world must marry the well-being of the people with that of its environment. So in our broadband work, the Sierra Club will certainly stress the fact that through the use of information and communication technologies such as broadband, the U.S. could cut our annual emissions of CO2 by 13 to 22% by 2020. And we will highlight the fact that the wide adoption of broadband can achieve a net reduction of 1 billion tons of greenhouse gases over 10 years in the U.S., which, if it converted into energy saved, would equal 11% of annual U.S. oil imports. And of course, our members will care about the fact that we could save energy equivalent to taking 53 million cars off the roads if we made our energy grid more efficient, and broadband is key to that. But we will also stress that this is not just about those environmental gains, and the Sierra Club will insist that the transformation to a green and clean energy economy, whether in manufacturing, whether in broadband, must be done in a way that creates good union jobs. Everything is hitched, and never before have our partnerships and alliances been more important and urgent. We stand ready to continue the fight with you. Thank you.